Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the Daily Office Lectionary. And today, I thought for Monday, let's go back to the book of Esther. Remember that great story which is read on the Jewish feast of Purim about the salvation of the Jews from this evil, wicked king, in particular, not just the king, because he's not really the one who's the problem. It's Haman, his assistant, who's upset. He's upset that Mordecai and the Jews are not going to bow down and give the due homage that Haman feels as a pagan he is rightly due. Of course, the Jews will not worship anything but the living God and give homage in that sense. And so he's gone, and Haman has tricked the king into giving a decree to kill all of the Jews on a particular day and time. So here's Mordecai's going to work against this, obviously, and into the picture is also his cousin, Esther, who happens to be one of the queens of the people. She's in the court and then becomes the queen. And so here is how we're going to set it up. Mordecai speaks with Esther about setting up a way in which to entrap Haman in his deceit. Esther chapter 5, beginning at verse number 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house over against the gates of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be given thee, even to half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto a banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow, as the king hath said. Then went Haman forthwith that day joyful, with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood up not, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife, and Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him unto the princes and servants of the king. Haman said moreover, Yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared by myself, and tomorrow I am invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, as long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. Then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, Let a gallows be made 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou to the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. Okay, so here's a guy who's got seemingly all these opportunities, and all he can think about is that darn Haman, that darn Mordecai, who is not giving me the respect that I think I deserve, right? And so you can see how the human ego, how pride, and all of these sort of things, sin, just gets deep down into one's soul and just eats at you from the inside out. So you'll have to tune in. You can read ahead in the book if you want. If you're finished, this is chapter 5, to see how it is that Esther is going to be able to pull off, by God's help, what Haman deserves rather than what he wants. So today's Monday, 12:15 Holy Communion, and God willing, we will see you in church. Have a Monday that is full of blessings.